Hey everyone, my name's Andrew Hess. Today we're going to do SharePoint, Power Apps, Microsoft Teams with a Power Automate flow to do leave approvals. Now that was a lot to say, but we're going to make this super simple. Stay tuned. Let's get into it. So it looks like about a year ago, I created a Power App that created an entire leave time approval app. And over the past year, Microsoft has made some changes. They removed some of the Power Apps V2 trigger. So you can see 3 days ago, how do you do this with a V2 trigger? 2 months ago, how do you do this without the V2 trigger? So I feel like this video, ask Power Apps, is there an alternative? I can't get the ask in Power Apps option. So I kind of wanted to go over how we could do this, but I'm going to do this entirely different with some of the new features that Microsoft has. And so let's get into it. All right, I have a Microsoft team. I'm going to do this through Microsoft Teams. This can be done many, many different ways. This is just the way we're going to do it today. And so I have a Microsoft team. Every team comes with a SharePoint site backend. So I'm going to open, I'm just on my team here, your team name, that's what I called it. And then I'm going to open in SharePoint. All right, so I have my Microsoft team here. This is where documents can go. I'm going to go to Site Contents, and I'm going to create a new list. And this list is going to be Leave Time Off. It's going to be a blank list, Leave Time Off. You can name it whatever you want. I'm just giving it a broad name for the video, right? So just give it whatever name you'd like. In our Leave Time Off, we need a few things. We need a column that is the start date. So we need the start. Now you can call the start date. You can give it whatever you want. You could say include time. I'm not going to do time this time. That's funny. I'm not going to do time this time because you either take the entire day off or you don't. We're not going to go into you take the half day off. None of that. If you want to take a half day off, you don't have to put it in the calendar. This is based off your business's requirements, and you can decide how you want to do that. So I'm going to say no, don't include the time. Then what else do we need? We need an end date. So I'm going to say date and time. I'm going to say end. Now you can call this end date if you want, but I'm just going to say end. Then I need a column that is approved or not. So I'm going to say approved. So is it approved or not? We could call this approval if we want. So whatever name you want to give it. So we have title, start, end, approval. So title is going to be our reason, right? So you have to give a reason. Next, we're going to say, I guess we'll do a people picker. Should we do a people picker? We'll do a person column. This is going to be the user requesting. So, and then we'll show the profile photo, okay? So we have the user requesting. I'm going to pull that over. The title, I'm going to rename this. Never delete title. I'm going to rename this to reason. Okay, so we have a very basic SharePoint list. Reason, user requesting, start, end, and approval. Now let's go back to Teams. All right, so we're in the actual Teams client. We do have a new SharePoint list in the team. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build this in Teams. I'm going to go to Power Apps in Teams. If you don't see Power Apps on the left-hand side, you can go to View More Apps. You may find it in here. You can also find, Get More Apps. And you probably want to search for the Microsoft, built by Microsoft. Add Power Apps to your left side navigation so you can pin it. So just pin Power Apps to the left-hand side. And now I'm going to say Start Now. Now, you have to understand how this is going to work a little bit while we're doing it. Now, this is going to build an entire environment. It's going to be an entirely separate environment in your Power Platform. So I'm going to create the app. So it is literally creating an environment in Dataverse for Teams. Now, this does not require any premium. There's no premium capacity here. No one is going to need premium capacity. Actually, no one is going to have to use this Power App. We're going to do this 2 different ways later on. And I just want to give ideas. All right, so I waited about 5 minutes. Now I went from home to build here in Microsoft Teams, and we can see we have our new environment here. Your team is ready to use for Power Apps. So this is where I'm going to create my Power App. Now look, you don't have to do this in Dataverse for Teams, which is where we are in Teams. You can do this outside if you prefer to do Power Apps wherever you want. I'm just giving options, and this is how I'm going to do it today. So we're going to do a new app. And I'm going to build this inside Teams. Now, this Power App cannot leave Teams. It can only be inside Teams. We're going to have options for outside Teams also. We'll get into that later. It'll be part of this video. I'll put the video in sections. You can take a look at that section if you want. Sometimes my videos get a little bit long. That's why I put chapters and sections in it, so you can just skip along. You can make a custom form if you want, but let's do this super simple, right? Keep it simple, right? That's the objective. I'm going to go over here to the database right here, the database symbol. I'm going to do add data. I'm going to add my SharePoint connection to this Microsoft Team Power App. And so we're going to connect directly to the cloud services. Connect. It's going to ask you your SharePoint site name. I'm going to choose that one. I'm going to choose my list that I created earlier, leave time off, and click connect. All right, we've created our connection. Now I'm going to insert a form. We'll just do edit form for now. It's going to ask us the data source that we want to connect to, the leave time off. That's our SharePoint list name. It's going to add our fields in there. I'm going to make this bigger. I'm going to get rid of attachments. I'm just going to highlight attachments, click delete. This is title, user requesting. So we can pull that up. Title, start, end, approval. I don't want people to see the approval column. I'm going to delete that. So now they're not going to write the approval column. Title, we're going to rename this, just like we did before, to reason. We can change it, to more if we want reason, requesting, off. All right, so we have a nice field. Now what we want to do is, now when we hit play, it's not going to show the form, right? It's not going to show the form. What we want to do is set the default mode of our form here, the default mode to new. So now the default form is new. It now does appear. All right, so now let's create a submit button, an enter button, however we want to do that. Insert a button. This button will submit, so we will give it a text here, so we can actually come up here, text, submit. We can make our button bigger if we want. Make a big giant button. I believe they even added icons to our buttons, so let's see if we can find that. Maybe it's not in Dataverse for Teams yet. I think you have to have on modern. So let's turn on modern controls and themes and check that out. Turned on modern. Now let's do a button. Button looks very similar. Now we have icons. You see that? So there's actually a little bit extra. Now we have icon here right above my head. And maybe we do some kind of, I don't know, calendar. And then we change this to submit. I'm going to delete my old button. I want the font to be bigger. It's pretty small right now. So I'm going to increase, and let me move me. I'm going to increase the font size. So let's see here, maybe 40. There we go. Nice big giant submit button. Request reason off. You're going to type that in. The user is going to type that in. Start comes with start date, gives you a date, no time. Remember we said we're not going to do time. User requesting. Now let's say you want the default to be yourself or whoever's logged into the Power App, whoever signed into Teams. We come to the combo box, default selected items. Now we're going to paste this in. I can put this in the properties of the video if you want, but this is going to give me the default selected items of the person that is logged into Teams or using the Power App. So you can see it's a nice little equation here. You have department, user.email, email, user.email. That's where it comes in. And so now you can see it defaults to me. All right, so now we have that in there. Reason requesting off, vacation to Hawaii. Of course, everyone. Let's just vacation to Hawaii. Start date is the 25th, and we're going 2 weeks. We're going 2 weeks. Now we're going to submit. Now, does our submit button submit yet? No, it does not. On the on select of the submit, we're just going to say submit, form, and I guess this is my form 3. I kind of created one, but maybe this is your form 1. So we could probably rename this to form 1. This is your form 1. So submit form 1. It looks like it cleared my reason again. Vacation to Hawaii to July 6th. Submit. And now submitted our item. We could put in a splash screen here that says your submission was created. Let's just check out SharePoint though real quick before we keep going. So we have our leave time off. Press refresh. We can see vacation to Hawaii. The user requesting is myself. Start, end. Nothing filled out in approval yet. We're going to do a Power Automate at a different time. Okay. So now let's go back to Teams. We were saying we wanted a splash screen. So now, when we're going to create a container, let's just do a container. It's a classic container. So just a regular container. Let's just have this with a background color. So the color will be, I don't know, we'll give it a type of blue or green. How about green? Green means go, green means vacation to me. Inside the container, we'll do a label. Your request for time off was submitted. Now you can make this look pretty, way better than I can, right? Like you can round the corners, you can add graphics, you can do anything you want. All right, so now this container, the visible property, is going to be a variable now. So variable pop-up visible. All right, so this variable pop-up visible is only visible after you submit. So I'm on the on select of the button, set variable pop-up visible to true once we enter our time off. So let's try it again. It looks like it's not letting us redo a submission. So we'll add a new button. So we're going to add another button. Maybe I'll just copy this one. Control C, Control V. Maybe we want to have multiple submissions. New submission. All right, so our new submission button is just going to say new form, form 1. That's all it does. So now when we click on the new submission button, we get our form again, reason for requesting off, vet visit. How about that? We'll put some time in here, etc. We can submit. Now our pop-up comes up, and if we want to, we can say a new submission. And so it looks like our pop-up did not disappear. So on the new submission button, we will set our variable pop-up to false. So now when we click on it, our screen disappears. When we submit, it enters. Now one problem is if I hit submit, it's still going to write a blank form. So let's make sure that our button is not clickable unless people have filled some things out. We're going to go to display mode. Display mode is edit. We're going to say if. Now the first one is this field right here, data card value 7 for me. And hopefully I'm not in the way again. I am in the way. Let's move me. So data card value 7. We want to say if data card value 7, and then we're going to put it in parentheses. And in the front of it, we're going to say is blank. Then, if it is blank, then we're going to display mode dot view. Else, it's edit. So let's see, display mode data card value 7 dot value. All right, so now our submit button is not clickable. We can't click on it because we haven't wrote a reason in there. So now we can write a reason. Now we need to do the date and time. So this one is defaulted to me, so we don't need to do user requesting. But let's say or. You can write the word or you can do 2 straight lines. We'll just write the word or. Or now what's here? This is data card value 8, and this is data card value 9. So we're just going to do the same thing. Or I'm just going to copy this. 8 or 9. Is it data card value 9? Let's double check that. It is. Okay. And it does not need, or it does need a parentheses here. There we go. Now we have it fixed. So now, just because we select we're right in here, it does not let us submit. Once we collect a start time and an end time, then the submit button is now clickable. So that's our data validation check. We can then write to our SharePoint list. Okay, so we'll write to our SharePoint list. You can see we have a nice form. You can make this way prettier. Let's check out SharePoint. You can see I clicked a few times. We had the vet visit. I clicked on a blank, if you remember. So we now have our data check, data validation check, and I deleted that line. And so we can see now that we have some lines in SharePoint. Now, let's create a calendar view. So we're going to come over here. Now, this did change, right? This is Microsoft changing the UI UX. Now, there's a button here for Add View. We're going to add a calendar view. We'll call it Calendar. The start date of the calendar is start. The end date on the calendar is end. We're going to make this a public view. Title of items on the calendar. Maybe we don't want people to see that. Maybe we want it to be the user requesting, and we can have a subheading of title. Maybe you don't like the weekly view. You can easily come over here to calendar and click on the month and see the monthly view. So we can see, those line items in there. If it was bigger, we could see more in there. Let's see, how can we see more in there? There we go. Maybe I was zoomed in too much for the video. And so now we can see those line items in there and who's off on those specific days. Let's make the calendar view default. So I'm going to come up here to, let me zoom back in, list settings, calendar, and I'm going to say make this the default view. Okay. All right, so now we have people writing in our calendar view, but maybe we don't want to see the items until they're approved. So now I'm going to build a Power Automate flow once an item is written to our list. So I'm going to head over to the Power Automate side of things right now. And I'm going to check out the templates. I want to see if there's a template that will work for me. I'm going to search for approval. I want a template. Send approval email when a new item is added. That's actually all I want. Send approval email when a new item is added. Okay. That all looks good. So we're in SharePoint. When an item is created, so you can see we have an error here. Where do we want it to go? We want it to go to our team, which I named mine called Your Team Name. The list is our calendar list, which is leave time off. Start an approval. It looks like we could put the item link in here. Let's see, can we find the link? So we'll put the full path. That might be what I'm looking for. Link to item, actually. We'll put the link to item in there, item description. We can put the title and then the username Or maybe should we do the username? Maybe we'll do the username, user requesting display name, and then we'll do the title. That's our reason. Okay, that all looks good. Send an email. So who does the approval go to, assign to? You can assign this to whoever you want. You can build in a manager, check out the manager if you want. But we'll just, I'm just gonna hard code my name in there. So now you can figure out who you want to assign that to. This is for the request. So I'm just gonna send it to myself. Send an email, enter custom value. So this is going to be, if it's approved, so this is going to go to the user requesting email. So I clicked on see more right there. User requesting email. It'll say if it's approved or not. It looks like all of our errors are gone. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit save. So when an item is added to the SharePoint list, it sends an email, but I realized I just forgot one thing. There's one big thing we want to do. Before we send the email, we want to go to SharePoint. I'm going to click see more. I'm going to update an item. So update item all the way here at the bottom. Update item. I'm going to choose the same SharePoint site. The same list name. The ID is going to be when an item was created, that ID. We're going to click show all, and the approval. I'm just going to type in here, approved. So we're not going to update anything else, just approved on the approval field. I'm going to click save. Now maybe we want to put in here, just in case, sometimes this does happen, or it used to happen, we'll just put title as title, start as start, end as end, user requesting claims is the user requesting claims. Okay, so we're just updating everything that it was, changing approval to approved. Save again. All right, so now let's go back to Teams. All right, so now we're gonna have a new submission. Reason requesting off to test Power Automate. The start date will be on the 26th, and then we want to do the 27th. We will submit. So now your request for time off was submitted. Now I'm going to get an approval. Okay, so my Power Automate flow is most likely running. I'm gonna go here to the three dots. I'm gonna say get more apps. And I'm going to search for approvals. In Teams, approvals, I'm going to add it to my left side navigation. Now we can see in Teams, I have approvals here. So this is the approval request that was done today. You can see I also did a couple tests here. So it's requested. We can see here, Andrew Hess, to test Power Automate. We can click on the link. It's going to bring us to that exact entry. So to test Power Automate, the date and time. Now, once you're ready to approve it, you can just easily come here and click approve. Now, this was based off someone else's requirements, and they were asking, we really need to document everything. And so you can easily just come in here and click save as PDF also. It's going to give you a nice overview of the entire approval process that you just did. So now we have a nice PDF documentation of the entire approval process. And we can see that now the Power Automate flow should have finished running and it changed our status to approved. Now here's the next big thing. So let's go to our calendar view. We're going to go to list settings. In our calendar view, all the way at the bottom here, calendar, we are only going to look at items that we're going to filter out approval. Oh wait, that's sort. We're going to filter out approval when it's equal to approved. Is it approved or approved? I think it's approved. And then we'll click OK. So now when we're in our calendar view, we only see the one item that was approved. Now an admin can go in here and see all the items, but these are not approved yet. And in the calendar, only approved items will appear. Now let's go back to Teams. Now I'm going to add a view of the calendar. So now I'm going to go to SharePoint. And your team name, lists, leave time off, save. And now we have a view of our calendar. So of the coming week, we can see that. If we want to change the view to monthly, we can. So now we have a view of the calendar in Microsoft Teams. Now let me just add this little extra cherry on top. Microsoft has come out with a little extra for SharePoint. And that is, so we're in our leave time, we have our all items. We now have this new button called Forms. So we can do this in Power Apps on Teams, or we can create a form, a new form, and leave request off, leave request time off. We have the exact same form. I'm going to remove approval. Let's see, can I remove this? I want to hide approval column. User requesting can go up here. So now we have user requesting, reason, start, end date. We unchecked approval. We can change the theme. Let's give it a little bit. We've created our style. We have a couple settings in here. We can get a response. Send form. Now we have a link. This link directly sends us to our form. Now the most wonderful thing about this link is they do not need access to your SharePoint list. That's the best part. Now, anyone not outside your organization, obviously if you looked at that again, it's people inside your organization. People inside your organization with the link can respond. No external users. Then use the form. Let's say I'm someone else. I'm Batman. Reason to save Gotham. Start time. End time. Submit. Thank you. They do not get access to your list, although now they'll be able to, if they're part of the team, they'll be able to see it. But if we come in here, user requesting is Batman, I should get a new approval in Teams. So we can see that in my approvals, we have a new approval request, Batman to save Gotham. We can then approve it or reject it. Nothing will happen if we reject it. It just won't show up in the calendar. We can set up something to email them if we want. But now we go back to the team, check out our team, leave time off. We can now see Batman has requested this time off. We can change the view to monthly. So we now have a nice view. You don't have to use Power Apps V2 trigger. You have two ways to submit a request time off. You can pass someone the form, or they can come directly to your team. So one more thing we need to do is we need to publish our Power App to our team. So we're going to go back to Power Apps. We're going to find our leave time off. And when we publish to the team. Now you can publish this to multiple teams. This does not have to be just your team, right? But just your team will get view of the calendar. You could absolutely publish this to a different team. So next we're going to publish. So we'll make a new active tab in here, save and close. So you can actually publish this to other teams. That'll have to be another video. So that's the entirety of this video. We can go to Teams. We see now we have our leave time off. Maybe we want to rename the calendar. Maybe we want to rename this to calendar. So now we have our calendar, we have our leave time off, which is just a very, very, very simple Power Automate, requesting time off for doing all this work. It defaults to me. Start time, 28, 29. Submit if we want to do a new one. New submission if you like. Now the UI, UX, making it look pretty, I'm leaving that up to you. The functionality is here. we have the complete functionality. We should get a new approval. Now the approvals can take a little bit of time. It depends on how long, your license model allows it. If it was a premium Power Automate, it would be like instant, but I'm not in premium, so it may take up to 5 minutes. So that is my entire leave time request off. Now this was done very fast. I'm sure all of you can make something way more pretty than what I did, but you have that basic structure now. So hopefully this was helpful. My name is Andrew Hess, and I'll see you next week.